actually how that started. I used to have certain sculptures, and to put them away in storage, I would create these like really fucking nice. I mean, they were visually not nice. They were just really, really well done. Crates for them.
Okay.
They were padded and shit like that, just so the sculptures around not get damaged. So once in a while, I would sell a sculpture, and then I get stuck with this fucking crate that I spend fucking time doing. And when I would take it apart, I'd have these nice wooden panels with this like boarded fucking wood on them. And I was like, yo, I don't want to throw this out, and I don't want to recycle this wood. So I would just take chalk and draw something like that would take me like 5 minutes to do. I honestly would not feel even comfortable charging somebody for it. I took one, the very first night I did that was the night of the Joker premiere. The reason I remember is because Friday nights I'm a film. I go to a lot of movies. I used to go to movies a lot. So the first night I ever did that was the night of that Joker premiere. So I left that shit, and I don't know. That's the only one that I don't know who got it, because every other one, people would get it, and then they would tag me on it.
They'll tag you on
it. Yeah, and then it was kind of a cool thing that they were like, you want to hear something funny? On this block, that garbage can in the corner, I one day it was like 5 a.m, and I left one there, and this old man I left it on the street light, and this old man comes and he looks at it, and it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I hadn't gotten home yet, so he's going to work. So he looks at that shit, and I forgot which one it was, but he grabs it and fucking rams it in the garbage.
Damn.
Whoa, what an asshole.
So while I'm like in the car about to post the shit, I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I was like, yo, what the fuck is he doing? And he's rammed it super hard in the garbage. So I was like, this motherfucker. So I get out the car, and I couldn't get that shit out the garbage, dude. He wedged that shit in there so hard. So I'm in there,
corners.
I'm trying to like get the fucking thing out, and I finally got it out. And I was like, yo, fuck this. I'm leaving this shit in the heights somewhere. So I ended up I went back uptown, and I left it on 176 and Wadsworth. And the guy who picked it up was this dude I tattooed. And this motherfucker took that shit to work. He was on his way to work. He grabbed it, and he was like, he made a video with him walking in the train.
Like, fuck, I'm not leaving this shit.
Yeah,
I'm taking
of course.
Shit to work and shit. But yeah, man, I haven't continued to do them just because I was doing the floor in my studio, and I just got caught doing other things and shit. And also I don't go to the fucking movies no more. My movie day was Friday nights, and that was my thing. I'd go out, go catch a movie, and come back like at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I'd put that shit out there. Okay. But I haven't been to the movies like in a year with this whole shit going on.
Shit,
so it's like,
none of us have at this point.
Yeah, but eventually maybe I'll do some more and shit. But yeah, it was funny because I would get people who would hit me up like, yo, I want one of these paintings. I'm like, yo, the whole idea is to go out there and get them.
Right.
I just can't give them to you and shit. And that's what I was telling you earlier before we started recording. I had a friend who was
priceless.
Like, yo, I'm trying to get this fucking thing. You out here giving these Dyckman niggas all these fucking paintings. So, like, yo, I was doing one. I was like, here, just take this shit, nigga. Take this shit. Well,
you learned your lesson when you see my man on this corner slam that shit into the garbage can.
And that was the only time that shit happened and shit. I left one on this same block, but on Vermilia. And this dude from Post that I tagged, he ran over there and got it. I mean, he ran over there to get it, and when he got it, when he saw, because I would literally put it up and then post it on Instagram immediately.
Okay.
And then freaking this girl who lived around there, who I tattooed as well, she came down and got it. So freaking the guy from Post ran over there, and he was like, yo, when I got there, this little girl had got it. And she was young,
tight.
Yeah, but, that's the whole thing about it. That's what was fun about them.
That's dope. That's a really dope concept.
Yeah, but that's a really dope concept. How many artists are doing shit like that?
None that I know of.
Exactly, and that's my whole thing when I want to mention like legacy and the art form. Bro, what you're doing, at least to me, because there could be a lot of other people that have done it or that are doing it, but to me personally, I don't know anybody that's doing it. I only know you.
Well, that's the thing, man, and you want to try to do, if you want to be a good artist or if you want to be successful, or what should I say more, if you want to just continue to work and feel constant re-inspiration constantly, you got to try to do something original. I look at some people and they're just doing shit that other people have done, and it's okay to take one aspect of what somebody's done or maybe copy somebody to the extent, but you could change that into your own way. But there's people copying exactly what other people were doing and making a living off that shit. And it's all, it's all good to them, man. They're doing it. I know people in the tattoo industry who are charging $300 an hour, making work that isn't gonna last 5 years. They do tattoos that they don't even wear themselves, but they're making the money. So I get it, man. We live in a society, you gotta make your money as much as possible and however you want to make it. But me, when it comes to like work, it becomes more so like I want to try to do shit that's meaningful. Like there's I mean, you never see it, but there's paintings I do that I just fucking start all over again because I'm not just feeling it. I finished a painting last night that didn't take that long to do, you know what I mean? But it just flowed real easily. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about. When you're creating something, we're talking about artwork. We're not talking about tattoos because tattooing is totally different. When tattooing, you already have everything is super calculated. You know what I mean? You have to know what this thing is going to look like. That you have the client's expectation is totally dependent on what you're going to do. You know what I mean? You could take a fucking shit on a fucking painting and splatter fucking urine on it, which artists have done. You know what I mean? It's like, and sell it. So it's like if you talk enough shit about it in the right way, people will fucking sell it. You know what I mean? Andy Warhol used to do that. He used to have all his boys drink different kind of fucking beer, and everybody used to piss on one section.
Just piss on the fucking canvas.
That's what they used to fucking sell and shit. Yeah, so that's not uncommon. But people are gonna buy piss in the tattoo industry. Nah, you gotta have like people. You're gonna give people what they're asking for. They want a portrait of their kid. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's why also I don't do commission work for paintings. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people come to the studio and they're like, yo, you could paint my kid because they see I'm painting. Like, nah, dude. Like, I'm not going to sit here and paint your kid for 20 hours, dude. When it comes to painting, I'll sell whatever I have, but it's what I want to do. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not about what, because then you're doing a client directed thing again. And I do that shit fucking for a living. You know what
You're doing tattoo artists on a canvas. That's it.
Yeah. And how often do I get somebody in tattooing that tells me, yo, do whatever you want? That shit has only happened maybe 3 times in my entire career.
Are those the best ones though? The ones where you have complete artistic freedom?
Most, of course, yeah. I recently did one. This guy named Lou from the Bronx. He gave me total fucking. This guy I couldn't even get input from him for anything, and I felt kind of bad because I wasn't used to that shit. So I'm like, yo, you got to give me something to you. He's like, nah, do whatever the fuck you want. And I still wanted something from him on there. So I remember the few times I've tattooed him in other areas of his body. He had told me that he was a skater and he was into smoking. So that's why if you look at the piece, it has like a skateboard with like a little pot plant on a little pot and shit like that. You know what I mean? So that was like his thing. And then I put that he's from the Bronx. So there were little sprinkled things here and there from his background, but the majority of the idea was mine. You know what I mean? And that rarely happens, dude. People don't do that shit. They don't give you anything, They don't understand how original a piece like that is, you know what I mean? Because you'll put everything into that shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So would you say you have a specific type of like tattoo style? Like I know there's like a bunch of subcategories under tattooing. Yeah. Would you say that you have like a specific specialty? And if so, what would it be?
Nah, I definitely, when it comes to tattooing, man, I try to stay as versatile as possible. The only 2 art forms I don't fuck with are traditional Japanese and hyperrealism. Traditional Japanese, I love reading about it and studying it, and I do what they call neo-traditional Japanese, but I don't do traditional Japanese because that shit has a lot of fucking rules to it. And a lot of like colors that you're not supposed to use, a lot of shapes that you're allowed to use, mythological creatures that you're supposed to put in positions and shit. Mm-hmm. That shit is super, super uniformed. It's not something that you can do whatever the fuck you want in it. Shit.
I didn't think it was so structured like that.
It is very structured. And the thing is that there is an ability to get creative, but it's within like parameters. It's not something you can do whatever the fuck you want. Mm-hmm. So I kind of stay away from that. What they call neo-traditional Japanese is when you're doing your version of that fucking Japanese, which I do all the time. I mean, traditional Japanese, I think you could only outline a fish once. It has to face a certain way.
Damn, really? That?
Crazy shit, yo.
Wow.
Like, you could only have like a dragon with a certain kind of. You can't have a dragon and a tiger together or some shit like that. It's super detailed. I like reading about it because it's history. It's impressive and it's valuable. You know what I mean, to know that kind of shit. But I'm not gonna follow that shit. I do whatever the fuck I want. You know, I mean, besides, and a client is also gonna want to do something. They want to do extra shit, and That's why I don't do traditional Japanese. But I also don't do hyperrealism because hyperrealism is the technical part that I have an issue with. It's way too detailed, and your skin is something that ages with time. It changes. Nobody's skin stays the same. That canvas, like he was saying, 100 years ago, is gonna look exactly like that. Unless there's a fire. It's gonna fucking it's gonna look exactly like that. Skin doesn't look like that. You could get a tattoo when you're 20, and the fucking time you're 45, that's gonna look like shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So you gotta get it touched up and shit. So I'm sure you've seen hyperrealism pieces where like Kobe Bryant, he has a fucking sweat beads and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, those things look amazing. I'm not taking anything away from how the artist is doing that shit, but it's the longevity. You know, they're not respecting what that thing is gonna look like in the future. Okay. You know what I mean? And you got to be considerate of that. And the biggest example that they really don't give a fuck is that they don't wear those tattoos. Those artists who do hyperrealism, they don't wear hyperrealism. Like they wear their tattoos just like mine and everybody else's tattoos because they know that shit's not gonna last. Now, can you fault them for fucking getting somebody to pay them $300 an hour? No, dude. Like,
no, of course not.
If somebody wants to wear that shit and they're willing to pay, of course
so be it.
Fuck it.
Yeah. My thing is, I feel like, you know, if I were to sit there and do a realism piece, I feel like I'm robbing people, dude. I've been tattooing 30 years. I've seen what a tattoo looks like, you know,
down the line.
Days, and I'm like, damn, I know this is going to look like shit down the
line.
So in many ways, I think, in my opinion, it's a way of losing a client. Because it's like you're setting somebody up with something that in the 10 years from now, they're going to be like, damn, this shit fell apart.
Well, I got this
clients don't know. They don't know about this. You the one who's supposed to know. You're the one tattooing and shit. So
client just sees the media and they're like, oh.
I want Kobe right here with the sweat. I want to see the sweat on Kobe.
It's true. It looks amazing until
it is, dude.
15 years pass.
They do the holes in the jersees.
That shit is nuts.
Every hole in the jersey. Yo.
And it'll look just like whatever picture they're using.
One of those guys charges $300 an hour, and he has a 9-hour minimum. So imagine what he's pulling out in a day. And I seen him at conventions. Yo, dude, they will work on a piece like this big for like 3-4 hours.
Damn.
And then they'll finish like the jersey down, leave you with no head. That's another technique they use. Cause you're not gonna do the head. Somebody break out and not come back for years. They just got the face. They'll give you the whole jersey. So the whole jersey with the basketball and everything, and then you just hanging around with that. So you catch that dude again and pay another fucking 3-4 stacks to get that shit finished.
Coño, that's tough.
So it's crazy.
That's tough.
That's how they get you.
Of course, man. Of course. I mean, I didn't get my first tat until I was like 29, 30. And I only have one, and I have it on my back. Because growing up, I was always like, my thought process, and I know it's not everybody's, was like, I wanted to wait till I knew I really cared about something enough to get the tat versus getting like, loyalty on my chest or whatever. And I'm not knocking anybody who does.
Born and don't die.
You know, exactly. Death before dishonor. All the good catchphrases.
Self-made.
So I was like, I'm gonna wait a while, and even then, like it's daunting trying to find the first person you're gonna do your tat with.
It is now. You know what I mean? Because it's such a saturated industry. But back, 20 years ago, it was a lot less of us. So like, people were trusting more to a lot less artists. Now, I had a client when this Nigerian doctor who came to me. He'd been to like 10 artists. And I was the only one that he had a conversation with that he could fuck with. Because this guy, he's a doctor. He's fucking very articulate, very, conscious that he knows what the fuck he wants. Right. So like the fucking the exchanges we were doing for the idea, I know it's still what got him with me because I had answers for everything he wanted. Like he wanted these crazy different details to his shit. First of all, he's dark as hell.
Right.
I was like, so I'm shooting down the fact of mad shit he could get because of his skin tone, and then things that the sun, considering things like that, all those things. But I was so prepared, and not that I was, I've been doing this shit for a long time. So it was like everything he was saying was nothing new to me. So I'm basically talking. I'm like, well, this is not going to work like this. This is going to work this better this way. So that's what impressed him. And he was a hard guy to work with, because he had really elaborate. The guy had like a folder for one tattoo.
Holy shit!
It was literally like. It was like 8 pictures, and every picture had like 4 different reference pictures. So he had like this cigar here. He had 5 pictures of this cigar, 5 pictures of this cigar, 5 pictures of this ashtray. And he's like, I want this piece here, this and that. So most artists will be like, yo, get the fuck out of here, dude. I don't want to do this shit. But right from the jump, I was like, yo, listen, first let me shoot down half of your expectations because you're black and you're super dark. And that shit is a lot of this detail is not even going to show. Right. So I start showing him pieces that could work for his skin tone. And then that's how we got to work and shit. But like Till you were saying, people who are like him are rarely seen, who are that detailed, who know exactly what they want to do. So it's harder, you know what I mean? But nowadays with how saturated the industry is, you got people You know, it's real easy if you get a fucking shit tattoo nowadays. You know what I mean? Because it's like everybody's doing it. Tattooing now is like a regular job. You know what I mean? Like anybody can do that shit. If you know how to trace properly and you know how to, you know, use a copy machine and a pair of scissors, a joke in the tattoo industry. If you can make a decent tattoo artist by using a tracing paper, a scissor, and a copier.
Shit.
You know what I mean?
That's facts.
Yeah, so it's like that's all you really need and shit. But you know, it's half of like, you know, half of it is technique. You know what I mean? Is the machine and applying the tattoo, and the other half is the art form and shit. So there's people who have the art form totally down packed. You know what I mean? But they can't get the technique down. And there's people who got the technique and they can't get the fucking artwork down. So it's like that fucking balance of both and shit. I know mad competent tattoo artists, dude, but like they don't draw. They don't fucking, you know, they look at. I know more bad tattoo artists. I'm talking about like immediate people I know and shit. I know more people who are. And I shouldn't say bad, but I just know like that they're disgruntled or disillusioned with the industry because they lost the passion for it because they don't draw. They don't look at the techniques and things that are coming on nowadays. There's a lot of shit that can stimulate you in that shit. You know, there's a tattoo artist named Carrie Barber. She's like 67 years old, a white woman from California. Yo, she is a fucking beast. I've been following her since I was in my 20s. And she's the only woman, right, that in this day and age, in 2021, that bitch is still doing some fucking mind-blowing work. Most artists that you see that have 40 years under their belt tattooing, their art towards the end is trash.
They burn out?
They're burned out because they've let the fact that people are giving you ideas to do get to them. They haven't looked for the originality or the stimulation within the technique of how to apply the tattoo. And that's what you have to keep going. That's what's going to keep you going. She's the only one I've seen who does that shit. Like a woman that age, that old, her kid is like 30 years old and he tattoos.
That's fucking crazy.
She's amazing. Carrie Barber, man. She's amazing. She's the only woman who actually opened the tattoo museum. And also, look, she's that. Why is she so great and so, you know, such a powerful artist at such a late age in her life? Because she's giving back to the industry. She opened a museum.
Right.
You know, there's tattoo machines in that museum that are 150 years old. From the time Samuel O'Reilly invented the tattoo machine. You know, the original tattoo machine was started, but what's the guy who fucking invented the fucking telephone?
Alexander Graham Bell.
Edison. He actually started he was trying to build an electric pen. A pen that flow inks and you could write on paper. And then Samuel O'Reilly was the guy who took those fucking plans and made the tattoo machine and then patented it and shit. So he's the guy, and that guy's from here, from New York.
Shout out to New York. Again, a lot of culture coming out of here. I wanted to ask you too, I know we were getting into like those pieces, like is there a specific piece that you did tattooing that like sticks out to you that you always remember, whether if it's because you loved it that much or if it's because it was really difficult? Like, is there like one story that sticks out to you more than the rest, or specific client, something like that?
Well, tattoos are, I mean, they're really not that difficult for me to do anymore. What becomes a difficult thing is people's skin, because people's skin is everybody's different. They say, there's a saying in the tattoo industry, you could learn how to tattoo in a year or two, and you could be learning skin for 20, because everybody's skin could be different. There's people in there there's fucking, you know, people whose skin is like soft like baby, and they're fucking, the needle, literally it looks like butter melting into their skin. And there's other people, you run a line and it's like leather. Like their skin is like, and sometimes it's not even a visual thing. Sometimes their skin could look normal, and you can't get that shit in there. So so you gotta like, that's where the skill comes in. You gotta learn to like either turn the machine up. Sometimes you gotta push a line a little harder and then give them, because when you're pushing harder, you're causing more irritation. So you gotta kind of back off for a little. You gotta take breaks. But that's the only thing that becomes like a problem or an obstacle. But if you're asking for like an important, or not important, but like a significant story, I mean, I have hundreds of different significant stories or tattoos that have like moved me. You know what I mean? Like there's a guy around here that I've if you go to my Instagram, he has his entire back done, and it has the Dominican. Like Dominican culture mixed with New York City culture. Has a Yankee.
Yeah. He has the Yankee, and then he has like
His name is Ace. He's from around here.
The thing from Santiago. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
But I did a portrait of his grandmother on his chest, and when I did that portrait of his grandmother, he was telling me like how his grandmother just passed, and my grandfather had just passed. So it was like that shit was like a really pieces like that are beautiful because they get you. You know what I mean? Like at that moment, I felt what he was going through because I had just recently gone through that shit. So you know, and then I can't tell you how many times. Like, you know, the guy who passed away recently, corporate from around here and shit. He was an artist around here. He was from right here. 20, I think he was from Dyckman and Sherman. Yeah. He recently passed away. He's a guy, another one. I did a portrait of him and shit, and he was very emotional. So like, and I known him for years and shit, and then having him pass away, it was a fucking. So it was like, you know, things like that. It does get, you know, this becomes a community. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like it goes back to like one of the things about, you know, the whole ego thing, because it's real easy for me to stay grounded with ego, and I don't get, because I love tattooing common people. You know what I mean? Like that's why I make it a point not to. I don't like tattoo celebrities. I could have many times tattooed celebrities, but I don't go out of my way to tattoo celebrities, dude. I just don't. Like if a celebrity wants me to get tattooed, they're gonna have to go through what everybody else is gonna
pull up to the shop.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Because every other working class motherfucker, those are the people that made me, not the fucking celebrity. So I'm not gonna. I can't be on some like, oh, I'm gonna treat this. Fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? And the worst of the hood celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, these nigga, he the man on his block. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna, I'm gonna pay you. It's like, nah, dude, I'm gonna cut off this working class motherfucker who's been coming to me for fucking 15 years to get tattooed just because you offer me more money. Like, I take that. I get pretty insulted with that shit. So it's like, people who know me, sometimes I come off hard on people because of that. But it's like, I don't think I'm a hard guy to get along with. I like respect. I give respect. And a lot of times people, when it comes to money, they can be disrespectful. They want to throw money at you, and they think that you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to jump for this money. Dude, if I didn't jump for the fucking celebrity, I'm not going to jump for you. You know what I mean? And I value the working class person. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about, motherfuckers who work on the street, because those are working people too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like they're working. I'm not shitting on them either. It's just that, you come, you leave a deposit, you work, you respect my work process, because I give people a certain time, bro. Like if you coming in for a 2-hour tattoo, I'm taking 3 hours that day. Whatever time to clean up before all that shit. You know what I mean? So like, people respect that. So if I give somebody gives me a deposit and I got them set up for a certain time, I'm not gonna fucking call them up and be like, yo, for your stacks, I got
rain check.
I got fucking little young man, whatever, from the Bronx.
little young man.
He coming over here. He's giving me an extra 1,000.
Yeah.
How that looks, dude?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean? And you've been waiting for your shit since February. Nah, dude. And it's people like you, the regular dude, who made me what I am today. So I can't do that. You know what I mean? It's like you have to have some sort of standards. You know what I mean? And that's what people. People confuse a lot of times. They confuse attitude with standards. I got standards, man. I try to keep to them shits, I'm not trying to veer away from that shit, because then you become fucking a whore.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, pretty much.
Pretty much. That's absolutely true. Has there ever been like a specific, like, funny or weird interaction that you were like, yo, this person's wildin'? Like any tattoo that you were like, damn, this, you sure you want to get this?
I mean, oh yeah, weird tattoos. Yeah, I mean, I've had weird moments. 30 years is a long time already.
Right.
It's like, so, I'm used to fucking almost everything, dude. Like I've had people throw up during their
what?
I had a woman throw up in her bra.
What?
And, I had this guy I was tattooing. His baby mother came in pregnant and hit him with a bat.
What?
Yeah, I had. I'm not mentioning these people's names because I know all of them by name.
Right.
But there's still people I actually still know. But
damn, that's crazy.
And I've worked privately almost the whole time I've been tattooing. I owned a shop years ago, like 20. I closed my shop like 2 months before 9/11. I had a street shop. You know what I mean? So I know what it takes to run a street shop. And then the thing about street shops is that you can't care about the artwork as much as you care in a private studio.
Okay.
When you came to get tatted, who else was in there but me and you?
Yeah, exactly.
What was that experience like? We had great conversation. You were consumed by everything I got in there. Everything in there is me. You know what I mean? It's like, we had great time together. I gave you this dope tat. It was like, that's it.
Got me ready to start a revolution.
You can't put a price on that. When you were in a street shop, you got every fucking Fernando coming in. Oh yeah, jodiendo. That shit is a different environment.
Yeah.
And it's for it. You know what I mean? You can make money in that environment. I'm not saying you can't, but this is not for me. I did it, and this is like you got to hire people. I working, having people work for you, it's another issue. And the thing is that you got to be, you basically it comes down to you have to care for something more other than artwork. You know what I mean? It's like you have to care about a business. Yo, when somebody comes in and they fucking want a fucking tattoo on their face and they're fucking 19 years old, you can't tell them, no, idiot, don't get that in. It's not a good idea. In a tattoo shop, you better do that shit because you got a fucking overhead of fucking who knows how much. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can't do that. And you know why? Because he's going to go across the street and get it somewhere else anyway.
Yeah.
So it's hard to care about, have some sort of sense of responsibility, to someone young like that. I was a kid recently who wanted to get and I didn't even know that this was this guy here. What's this artist? The one with the son, Anuel, right? Yeah. Some kid was in. I didn't even know who he was at the time, but there was a kid who wanted an elephant with a trunk. And when he told me about it, I was like, yo, that is so stupid. So all I told him was, mind you, I already got like 5-6 tats on him. I said, nah, we're not doing that, bro. Like, don't even ask that shit again. So he kind of like
slow for that.
He was probably sick.
So a couple of weeks later, I was telling somebody about it, and he's like, yo, but that's Anuel's tat. And I was like, who's that? And he shows me this stuff. I was like, yo, these kids are crazy. And then, this kid's like 20. He's a son of a friend of mine, from a childhood friend. And I was like, why would you want some shit on your hand that young? You know what I mean? So, I mean, luckily, I known him since he was a kid. So, he lived. Hopefully he listens. He wouldn't go get that shit somewhere else. But I'm doing you a favor, bro. You're getting your hand tattooed. You don't have a career. You know what I mean? It's just like you're bugging out. Like you get tattoos on your hand, your face, and shit. It's like you better be making money as a rapper or something already. You know what I mean? Back when I was a kid, getting a tat on your face, dude, you were like a psychopath.
Yes.
Now it's becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now it's just like any douchebag has a fucking tat on his face.
Tat on the face, diamond on the forehead.
Yeah.
All that crazy
diamond
shit.
on the forehead is something else. That's some next level.
That, bro, I couldn't believe that shit at all. At all.
Implants have been a thing in the tattoo industry for a long time anyway, but not protruding implants. They used to in the industry they used to cut your skin and put like pieces of plastic. You ever seen people who have like at tattoo conventions? You see it more common. Like somebody would have like balls or
bumps. Yeah,
bumps like that. Those are things that they were like cut and then squeeze that onto your skin. It's a whole like process that goes into that shit. But these motherfuckers took it to another level because they got a protruding fucking piece. And what happens with that people don't know is that when you have something stuck, you ever seen those dermal piercings chicks are getting now?
Yes.
That's another issue because it's like you literally have an open wound. That's basically something that's just stuck in your skin. So what's happening is that all your skin is forming, dying around that shit. So you're getting all these dead cells around there, and you get scar tissue. And eventually that shit gets pushed out. Your body's pushing that shit out like, yo, this is
no matter what.
I don't want this shit. Get this shit off of me. So eventually you got to take it out. And when you go take it out, they got to cut it with a razor and then pull it out. And then they tell you, sometimes they got to stitch you up, but most of the time they don't. But you put a Band-Aid on it. But what they never tell you is now you have a permanent scar there. Because now you have it's like, you ever seen your ear when you take you have that little ball?
Yeah.
Same concept, dude. That shit is dead skin in there. So you can't get that shit out. Now you're stuck with a scar on your chest. You got these women young, they're like 20, and they got these dark ass fucking holes right here. It's just like, yo, I cover those holes up all the time. I'm like, yo, they don't tell you that shit when you're getting dermal piercings done. And same thing with that shit on his forehead. He's gonna have a monster scar from that shit because all that shit dies out. If you would, your body pushes everything out. If you would tattoo a baby when it's born, and for let's say a person could live 200 years, the tattoo will completely fade.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Your body pushes all that shit out eventually, man. Your body's not anything foreign like that. It's not gonna fucking do. You seen people who get a tattoo when they're like 15. That shit gets super light. You barely even see it and shit. It's normal fucking for your body to push that shit out. It's just what the body does. It's not used to having shit implanted in.
No foreign material.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they listen to the DP and they don't go through that.
Yes. PSA, people. Stop it.
Listen to the DP, stay informed, so you don't have to go through those life decisions.
Yeah, man. One of the reasons why, remember when you asked me to come on here and I was kind of apprehensive about it and shit? But the reason why and I wanted to get this out and tell you that shit, the reason why I did is because you guys are just starting. And if I could help you catapult this even more, then that's a great thing. You guys are still forming yourselves, and that's dope. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't listen to many podcasts or only that you had. I listened to a couple and shit.
Yeah,
and it was a lot of different
there's a lot of different vibes, to say the least.
And that's fine because at the same time, at the end of it, it's important to have fun doing this shit. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like talking is definitely fun and shit, but we also have to have talking with some value to it. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to our community. And this is a Dyckman podcast. You know what I mean? And this is our community. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would, I'm very, very proud that when I sell paintings and I sell my sculptures, I sell them to my people. That shit is like a fucking, I feel like a millionaire when I do that. I still, there's a guy who I tattooed a couple of years ago, right before I went on vacation. I sold him a sculpture, and I went and installed it in his studio. And what was beautiful about that sculpture to me was that I had almost sold it. I had exhibited it in like 3 to 4 shows, and every time people wanted it, and they never wanted to give me the price for it, and I was always asking like $5,000, and then it went down to like $3,000, and then the last I was asking was like $2,500, and I ended up selling it to this dude for $2,000, but he was a man of color, and I was like, damn, it was such a beautiful thing. I didn't even care about the money at that moment. The fact that he was gonna have it, you know what I mean? And I don't care how segregated or how, if people want to say that sounds racist, I really don't care about that because I think there's a lot of that in our community where people are like, oh, that might be viewed as me discriminating or preferring to deal with a certain. I deal with everybody. I got real close friends that are white, you know what I mean? But I think our community needs more help than anything amongst ourselves, and we're the only ones that can help ourselves, dude. Like, so when I come in, some people tell me. When I was doing the free artwork thing, the free things, it's like, yo, come do this shit in Queens. I was like, yo, dude, I will never do that shit outside the Heights, dude. Like that shit, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. This is the neighborhood that made me. You know what I mean? It's like, this is where this is gonna go. This is where I gotta stay. Yeah. And that goes back to why I wanted to do I don't like
for you. It's very important to stay true to yourself.
Yes, and I might be talking a lot. You might,
No, but okay.
No.
That's what we're here. We're here to talk.
But, I'm talking a lot because I want to talk. I might be talking a lot, but I'm also talking because I want you to know that I wanted to help you into what you're doing. It's a cool thing that what you're doing here, and you haven't. It's not don't let yourself get corrupted with it. You know what I mean? And that's you guys have a good. Just by meeting you, I could tell you're good people. So it's not gonna happen. But there's people, man. They get into things, and it doesn't just happen in art. But you see people get into something, and then they quickly, because they want more views or they want more notoriety or more attention. They start like selling themselves out a little and shit. And I always got a fucking quote. I say, I'm willing to smell shit, but I'm not gonna eat it. You know what I mean? It's like you can fucking
bars.
You have to fucking sell yourself. You got to do it. You know what I mean? And there's times that you might have to do something that you might be uncomfortable with, but you don't hold yourself out, dude. Don't fucking do it to a point where you lose who you are. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it goes back to that whole celebrity thing. I work with. I'm not gonna tell you I would never tattoo a celebrity, but I'm not gonna fucking bend over for a celebrity.
No. We've had occasions, and we've had artists that with blue checks or whatnot that they've reached out. And once we start talking about scheduling, we tell them like the days that we record, and they basically tell us, oh, well, I can't do that. Let's do it this day. And it's like, no, bro, like you don't understand. Like we only record this day. But they feel confident enough to change our schedule. They're like, oh well, no, let's do it on this day. I'm like, hey man, that's not how. That's not exactly how it works.
And those are people with fucking ego already. The day I told you that I committed to this, I didn't hit you back immediately because I had 52 texts.
No, listen, bro. Listen, and I know you're a night owl too.
Yeah, but I wrote that when you done in my book, dude. That's it. Like I already made time for you that day and shit. So
Carlos, we really, I appreciate it so much for you to stopping by.
For sure, man.
You're a great, dope artist. I wish that everybody, especially everybody right here within the Heights and Dyckman area, sees this podcast and listen to this podcast so people can actually know more about you, know more about your persona, because you're very humble about it. But for me, bro, like the shit that you've been doing, like, is very original, it's very dope, and for me, it's very inspiring. And we as a podcast, we don't have it all figured out, but the reason why we started the podcast is to highlight our community. Exactly. Like our kids, like none of our kids know that there's dope artists. Like you could really come out here, make a living drawing pictures, doing tattoos, being a musician, designing clothes, you know, like
whatever.
Yeah, and if you're an artist, you're a creator from the community, where are you gonna go to expose that? Yeah. We don't have those platforms. We can't go to Jimmy Fallon. We can't fucking, you know, where the fuck are we gonna go?
Yeah, it's something that's it's you know, it's shunned in our community. They take it out of the community in the school system more and more all the time. You know what I mean? So
que tú vas a dibujar para vivir. Tú vas a dejar trabajo para dibujar. ¿Qué?
Yo, I wanted to ask you too, because I know you mentioned you do a lot of pieces that are kind of like, I guess, poking at the religious cult type vibe. I know you're from a Hispanic family, a Latino family, so do they feel some type of way, like any of your super religious family members? They're kind of like, how could you draw this?
Telling my mother
I
was not a believer of God.
You
would have thought I told her I was like a homosexual. She was like, what the fuck? And that. But you know what's crazy about people like that? That if you, and I'm not a historian, dude. I just, you know, everything I know is sprinkles here and there. But fucking, you know, you read about like how you could read something as simple as what was read to indigenous people by the Spaniards when they came to this side of the world. It was like a 20-sentence thing where it basically said either you accept this Christianity or you're gonna accept this sword through your fucking head.
Wow.
Like this is how this is accepted to us. So it's just like, you know, you tell them that and they don't want to hear that. They're like, that's not. And it's like, so a lot of times you just gotta leave it alone. But in my experience in my family, they tend to like, you know, they just can't deal with me. So like, when I start talking and bringing them, and I don't go bringing out dates or facts or anything like that. No, I just tell them how is it this is this and how could this be possible if this is possible, you know? So like sometimes it's just simple. You just gotta like people, you know, but it hasn't been easy. You know what I mean? It's just like it hasn't been easy. And back to what I was saying earlier, I don't judge people who believe, you know what I mean? I'm in a relationship with a woman who's a person of faith, you know what I mean? It's like, so I respect what people believe. My thing is like when you want to just bring that to every reason that everything's happening, you know what I mean? It's just like, people want to tell you about like religion and God and the belief. It's like, yo, dude, talk to me about God when you go to a child cancer ward. You know what I mean? Like go to a child cancer ward and talk to me about things God want to do for a reason why God does things. And then you have people who will tell you, yeah, but God is like, yeah, you saying that shit because that's not your kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, that's you saying that because if it was your kid, you ask those people about that shit. And it's like, and yo, there's people, back to what I was saying earlier, who through faith gets them through shit like that. So I get it, man. But I think overall, man, you look at all the different, you know, beliefs in the world, people believe in this and they believe in that. It has caused an enormous amount of pain, an enormous amount of death.
Yes.
There's nothing that kills more, causes more casualties in the world than the beliefs of religions and shit, you know, and deities and gods. And
causes a big divide too amongst people who
like,
were all the fucking same.
Yeah. At the same time, everybody's like breathing the same air. People just look different. Everybody's like, you know, it's just the way it is and shit. But there's no changing it. You know what I mean? There's no changing it. So that's why I go back to the whole thing about the protest. I'm not really a protester. I'm just a critic. You know what I mean? I'm just seeing shit. And sometimes it might look like I'm making fun of it, but sometimes it's comical. You know what I mean? It's just like it's super comical that people get like Jesus with like, you know, chains on him or something. Or you know, people equate Jesus. Sometimes they'll put Jesus on a chain. Yo, dude, if Jesus was alive today, he'd be in a fucking mountain starting a revolution. Jesus was a fucking revolutionary. He hated rich people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like he wasn't somebody who vibed with rich people. And then you got people who make money. Oh, thanks to Jesus. Like, yo, dude, Jesus would be shitting on you if you would be here, dude. Like, he was about the poor. You know, it's like
if I were to die on the cross, I don't think I want people representing me dying on a cross on a chain.
I've done tattoos with Jesus. With gold chains on, with mad pills and bags of weed all around.
Pills in the bags. So I was like, yo.
And you know, there's people who criticize me, be like, yo, but how you could do that and have a... So, yo, again, it's criticism. You know what I mean? It's just like, yo, dude, I'm providing a service. I'm fucking giving you artwork. I think it's technically great artwork. I take pictures, I'll show it to you because to me it's amusing that you believe that. But it's your life, dude. You believe whatever the fuck you want. You know, I'm not trying to change what people believe. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to fucking do artwork at the end of the day. You know, that's it.
I think that's what a lot of people lack, though. That it's like you said. I feel like, and I take that same problem with people who are hyper religious that it's like, that's fine, but don't push it down someone else's throat or make someone feel lesser than you because they don't agree. That's my biggest problem with that stuff, because I'm huge on live and let live. Like, you know, whatever makes you happy, do that shit. And you shouldn't be judging someone else, making someone else feel bad, because like you said, some of the most religious people I know are really shitty people.
Dude, I have
really shitty people.
I have family members who are like ultra religious, and they're mad racist, mad fucking mad judgmental. They sit around talking about other people. They talk about, like, you know, people are, you know, like, they're not people of color. You know, they're these white ass Latins who think that they're fucking white.
Yep.
And you're like, yo, you know, I come from fucking half my family's Cuban. To me, and again, I don't give a fuck how this sounds. To me, there is no bigger coon, there is no bigger sellout in the Latin community than the Cuban. You know what I mean? You look at like Republican, right-wing Cubans, they're the fucking worst, dude. They think they're white, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, and then there's like a whole bunch of other issues with other Latin groups. Like, I had a Mexican dude one time stay at my mom's house. He was visiting a friend of he was a friend of a family member. Then somehow he ended up staying in my house. He was born in Mexico, living in LA, came out here to visit, and he's like talking shit about like immigration and Mexicans.
Yo.
And I'm like, yo.
You look at him like, yo.
I didn't even choose. A lot of times, yo, dude, I'm having a conversation with you guys because you guys are like-minded and you're willing to, like, you know, let me talk and we could exchange. But, yo, dude, one thing I don't do is talk to people who are, like, really out there. And somebody like that, like, they have a whole bunch of issues. Obviously, you got issues of identity. You have issues of who the fuck you are, who the fuck, you know, it's just like, that shit is. So why even, I'm not here, I'm not a teacher, dude. I'm not. Like, live that stupidity as much as you want, dude. That's on you. You know what I mean? I just stay out of it. You know, it's so much more at my age. I get much more out of talking to people who are like-minded. You know what I mean? Who I could get something, you know, a thought, reciprocated some sort of feeling, you know, a mindset from them. You know what I mean? So it's different. It's more productive for me. For me to sit there and argue with some motherfucker who, you know, you got Dominicans who are black, who are talking about I ain't black. And it's just like, why even? I've run into them all the time. It's like, why? I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, like, yo, a cop will do that for you one day.
Absolutely, they will.
You know what you are one day. You know what I mean? It's like the fucking the ancestry.com shit people were doing it. I had a cousin, my cousin. She was sending them shit out to everybody in the family. So she was like,
what?
I want, everybody. I don't know how much.
Why?
Because she wanted everybody to sit there and do a whole, like, Facebook community about how it was gonna be. You know, it was cool for her. She bored. I guess she's doing it. So she sent me, yo, I'm gonna send you one. I said, yo, don't send that shit because I don't need that shit. So she's like, why? I was like, because I know who I am. I was like, everything I need to know gets answered when the cop, I give that cop my ID and he reads my name. That's it. That's everything I need to know about myself is right there. But you know, there's some people who go into that shit, and there's like, you know, you could further dissect how retarded that shit is. Because I always say, like, at what point in this ancestry thing, how did they decide what period of time that you're from? They just they say, oh, you're from Scandinavia, and you're like, yo, dude, what the fuck, dude? Like,
3% Uzbekistan.
That shit is, what I do see it being an advantage is when people do find, like, I have an uncle who found a daughter like that.
Really?
Yeah, because what happens is that when you send your fucking DNA places, that shit goes onto like a nationwide system to other people who send DNA. So if you had, if there's somebody out there, you had a kid and they matched his DNA. My uncle found my cousin now, and she was more of a match with my grandmother than anyone else was.
Wow.
So you know, that was like, that's his daughter.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother's 104. So
wow.
Yeah, so
damn, that's, you know,
they did a DNA on her and they found, I don't even know where the fuck she was from, but you know, it's just like, it's crazy to me that people that waste their time on that. I think it's another reason just to get your fucking DNA out there, which is, you know, crazy. Like, you know, nowadays, who knows, like with the vaccine and all this other shit going on.
Yeah,
like, you know, they want all kinds of shit out there. You know,
yeah, that's
they
true.
were taking DNA when you were getting arrested a couple of years ago. I don't know if they still do that.
Yeah,
when you would get locked up here in the tombs. I mean, I heard. I haven't been locked up in the tombs in 20 years, but fucking somebody that got locked up told me that they will give you a swab for your DNA.
What?
So, yo, imagine they're recording your DNA for fucking every time you get locked up for anything. It's like,
why not use the ancestry? And then it's also like, I just feel like, although sure it might be cool to know, to me it doesn't really matter. I think overall, as human beings, we're obsessed with this classification of each other, putting these lines between us through this, that, whatever, when if you really think about it, everybody came from the same fucking place.
That's why,
you just went to different parts of the world at different times.
It's a quote where I came, it ain't where you're from, is where you're at, you know what I mean? But, that being said, it does matter more so where you're at and where you're going. But, in this day and age, in this world we live in, you can't forget where you come from. And you have to make your culture, we have to make our culture more than just what it is, dude. Like, we look at us Latin people, for instance, which is the more so people I criticize the most, because I feel that I'm not going to be criticizing other people, I'm criticizing my own people first. But we equate culture with baseball, with shit like that,
with bachata,
music, and it's just like, that's not, our culture is so much more than that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like you got people like we're in a Dominican neighborhood. Most people out here, you go out in the street, they don't know who Miguel Piñero was. They don't know who Juno Diaz was. And those are people like Juno Diaz, Dominican writer. You know what I mean? Who he was considered like the most important writer in the last fucking 20 years. And people out here, they don't know who he is and shit. This is like, that shit is crazy. You know what I mean? It's like that a writer who's writing about the Dominican experience here. He's not a baseball player will be more important, or a singer or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a different. We got to change our mindset.
Is the people not sharing this type of information?
No,
because it goes back to what you said too.
It doesn't benefit the other people that we do. You know what I mean? It's just like you look at the ruling classes or other groups of people, particularly like white people. They're the ones who basically they're gonna uphold. You look at the music industry. Who runs the music industry? It's mostly white people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're the ones who throw money
yeah.
at that shit.
Yep.
They're not gonna throw money in they don't want more Latin writers. They don't want more black writers. You know what I mean? That's not something that benefits them and shit. They rather hear you talk about baseball or talk about music or shit. They don't want to hear that shit.
I think it goes back to what you said before also, though, that like it's somewhat frowned upon in our community, at least more so with the older generations. I think the newer generations now are more into letting people be creative and express themselves. And I still think it's a long road, but I think that old school generation, that mentality where it's like, nah, you got to work, you provide, you do this. If you're a woman, you take care of the house or whatever. And there wasn't really like a lot of room there wasn't really much wiggle room at all. No. But I think they're doing a better job of it now overall. I just think our generation is important to help bridge that gap, because we were raised by those people that had that somewhat closed-minded mentality, and we were also kind of raised in the age where you could get a little bit more free than they did, because maybe they just didn't have that type of freedom. But that's why I think at least I'd like to think we helped lay some groundwork for the newer community, basically the younger community, to help express itself.
It's also the system that we live in, because our parents, they didn't have, like, when our parents came here, there wasn't like internet, there wasn't like a lot of jobs that exist today and shit. Right. And their life was like a lot more simple. They went to work, they came home and shit, and that was it. Like today, another thing that people equate with freedom in this country, people are like, this is the freest country in the world. Well, this better be the freest country in the world with 400 years of slave labor and a fucking entire decimation of another group of people. Right. This better be the best country. But, people equate freedom with, like, the internet, having the game systems, having 300 pairs of sneakers. Things like that shit really isn't normal, dude. Yeah. And that's what people find. That's what people be like, having all this shit, these things, I'm free as possible. You know what I mean? But we're us living in this neighborhood right now. You can't send your kid to the best school system out here.
Nope.
No, because you're in the inner city, dude. The best school system out here, it doesn't exist out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not getting the best healthcare out here. No, you live in a city. This is like congestion and it's urban and poor shit goes on here, and you don't have the money. You know what I mean? So, it's a different time. It's a different time, and it doesn't change too, because now with all this new shit that goes on, it distracts us to how our parents live. We feel that because we got all these fucking things, these gadgets and all this shit that going on, that we're better off. Yeah. But in reality, dude, we're still here. You still got to go to work every day. You know what I mean? But we're not getting a better education. You're not getting better healthcare. You're not getting a better life. You know what I mean?
Not at all. Not at all. So we're somewhat following that same trail our parents blazed, because we're still here. Exactly. And not that it's a bad thing to love being from the community where you're from, but it's kind of like, I feel like you get stuck in that hamster wheel where it's like, and some people don't even have a choice because I guess you got like 3-4 kids and it's like, you better go work them 2 jobs. And it becomes that cycle where it's now that because you have to provide, those kids now don't have you in that home and they're kind of out doing whatever the fuck they want and they get swallowed up by the hood, so to say. Yeah. You know, and it becomes that vicious cycle. I've seen it happen over and over and over and over. So I think it all goes back to what you said. It's important to push these creative things to help people like think outside of the box, to not just grow and be taught to be good little soldiers. Like, don't just grow up to be a good employee. Grow up to be who you want to be. Yeah.
Another thing too is like if you to do that to help somebody grow into something other than what you see. Is you gotta take them to new things. I go to the museum, and only kids you see in the museum are white kids. You see Asians in there. That's about the extent of color that it gets in there. Yeah, you know what I mean. But the majority of white people take their kids to the museum very young, dude. It's like we don't do that shit. My parents never took me to the museum and shit. My parents pushed sports. My dad was trying to push sports, but like it's not something that you see. It's like and the less of that you get, it's not gonna change. You know what I mean? You're not gonna. It's never going to change if you don't see people doing anything different. You know what I mean?
We can't even blame them because at the end of the day, that's probably all they knew. So,
yeah.
How can they push something that they don't know anything about to us?
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think you got to work on exposing yourself as well.
So it's up to us. There's
another thing too about like having a realistic understanding of who your parents are. Because, there's people, our parents came here, they're working people, hardworking people. They made a life. They obviously... they did everything for us, but a lot of times your parents, they're not, for lack of better words, they're not worldly people.
Yes.
So it's just like they're not people who are considering that they're all the options that are out there. So there's people who I know, I have like acquaintances and friends like that who give their parents this crazy ass title, like, oh yeah, my dad did everything, and yeah, he might have done everything like that he could, but he didn't do everything mentally that he couldn't give. He didn't stimulate your mind the way he should have. You know what I mean? And I'm coming from somebody who did not come from that. I didn't come from that. My parents weren't like that. But what I did see the change in how they were people who weren't stimulated mentally when you'd have conversations with them and they just don't care about certain shit. Yeah. You know how many times I've tried to talk to my parents about something and I see them getting bored. Like while I'm talking, like, stop talking about, like, I don't want to hear this shit. And it's like, you stop because you're like, okay, I get it. You want to go back to watching La Doctora Polo and shit. It's like,
if it falls on deaf ears, what's the point?
So it's like,
caso cerrado.
Mommy's like, hold on, there's some burning in the kitchen. Espérate, I'll be right back.
So, that's why when you were saying earlier about how they take to that. They usually, I get chalked up as a fucking un loco. Just like that. That's how they, es una loquera ya.
Tú sabes, Carlos hace su cosa.
Está ahí.
That's how it is,
It's true.
Be looked at like that.
Carlos, so before we leave, I have one last question.
Oh my God.
Yes. Stacks.
Oh wait! Wow! I just looked at our. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's like we typically don't go this long and stay this engaged.
Yeah, you get a lot of flat moments.
Yeah, and it's like, and no, just even the sheer time. Yeah. And it seems like we've only gotten to like the tip of the iceberg. So I can genuinely say that I see why he felt the way that he felt, because you're a very easy person to talk to. And I can say that I've enjoyed our conversation.
We didn't even get into the revolution.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like
we didn't even get into the revolution.
The surface, bro. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, for real.
Hold on. Before we leave, Carlos, I personally have one last question, unless Stacks has another question.
The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, so my last question to you: if it's all over tomorrow, how would you like to be remembered?
Damn, that goes back to that whole
legacy.
I really don't give a shit, dude. Like, you know what I mean? I don't really care. I don't think it's
so like as humble as you can put it.
If I was one of those people,
as humbling as you can put it.
If I were to think like that, I'd be one of those people who put a lot of emphasis on like having a child, because that's the best way you could leave a legacy is having a child. And I'm not. I don't have children. You know what I mean? And this is like I never wanted children, so it's not something that I think of like that. Listen. There's very few people you're going to run into the world that don't want to have children and leave anything. and I'm one of them. You know what I mean? And that should show you how much I care about legacy, because I really, we live in a fucking disgusting world. People find these little, and this little apartment right here. This could be your paradise, and it could be enough to make your life happy for the next 50 years you live, dude. And that's what's important. You know what I mean? Because the world is fucking really horrid out there. You know what I mean? And to leave a child, that's legacy. You know what I mean? To bring a child, having a child is the most important job in the world, and it's a job that any idiot do. You know what I mean? And people do it all the time, and they don't think about what they're doing. People have kids like the DMX dying with 15 kids. You got 15 kids, dude. Like, you worried about fucking legacy? You got 15 kids? You're not caring about them kids. So I don't think of it like that. I think when my time is done, it's done. You know what I mean? I do think about, like, I do have a worry in my mind when it comes to, like, about time and dying, and it's usually about how much work I'm trying to get out. Like, I want to there's a lot of ideas I want certain shit to get out there and do and be comfortable with enough paintings. I read about artists that got 10,000 paintings done in their lifetime. So those things like that, those are things that motivate me and shit. But, that legacy talk, man, like I said, it relates to, like, what you're leaving here, and what can you leave here more than another life, And that would be really, I don't know if you guys are parents, but I don't know how people have kids and don't get stressed out. I cannot imagine the stress that somebody could feel having a kid, you know what I mean, and leaving them here the way shit is, you know what I mean? Look what we're in now. This life isn't getting any easier, dude. It gets
not at all.
It gets fucking harder, dude. This is like, it gets harder and harder. You know what's gonna happen in the next 5 years, you know what I mean? This is like, so yeah, I don't worry about legacy. Definitely not.
As far as the artist, how would you like to be remembered? Just as far as, like, let's say your art style.
The only thing I like to be respected, and people, I want people, if they know me or they've met me, to know how much I work, because my work is definitely, like, my work output. You know what I mean? When I was in the heyday, when I was in my mid 30s or early or late 20s, and I was tattooing, I would tattoo sometimes 12 hours a day, and I'd get home and I'd draw for the rest of the night. I was also single, and there was no amount of work I produced I produced an enormous amount of work when I was single, and that was it. It was like I worked 12-hour days, and then I get home and draw, and I wouldn't even be tired. You know what I mean? So it was like, it was such an easy thing for me to do, and I enjoyed it so much. So that's what I want to be remembered more so than anything, dude. I'm not even too much into exhibiting work, for that matter. If you look at my resume, I got 30 years of tattooing and making artwork, but I don't have a lot under exhibitions because I'm not even into that too much. You know what I mean? It's like, you exhibit work, and it's like, I'd much rather be here and talking to two people like you than to be going there and talking to complete strangers who know nothing of my community, who know nothing of what my people been through, to having to explain day one shit from them. I don't need to tell you two how hard it is being Latin and coming in and discriminating. I only know all that. You know all that shit. So it's like, so when you go do a studio, you're showing artwork. Now you got people like, oh my goodness, what are you saying here? You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
So,
right.
It has to be done again. You want to smell shit and not eat it. It has to be done to an extent, but you don't want to fucking kill yourself with it either and shit,
Do you have a favorite piece that you've done? Not like tattoo, like artwork wise, a favorite piece that you've done?
Not really, man. I've never done a piece where I'm like, yo, this is a masterpiece. I don't look at that shit like that. I was an artist recently, a up and coming tattoo artist a couple of months ago, and he is super arrogant, and he's like 33, arrogant as fuck. Like he's talks are crazy, like he's making crazy shit, and he's really like mediocre. Not even, he's like less than mediocre. Mm-hmm. Like the only thing I could say is that he's not damaging skin. Like that's one thing about it. Okay. But he has like no artistic vision, like So anyway, I'm not the type to shit on somebody either. So one of the things I try to give him some perspective, and I was like, yo, if you had to categorize yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give yourself? Right? And he said about a 7. And I was like, wow, that's high. Yeah. Because I would give myself about a 3.5 to a 4.
Wow.
Yeah?
Yeah. So when I said that, like his face was like, what? Because he had this, and I was like, because I'm only 47 years old. There's artists I see that are in their fucking 80s that they died in their, in their 70s and 80s, and they had fucking like, they did like so much more than I did. You know what I mean? And I noticed that they got to that level by constantly criticizing themselves and constantly undermining what they're doing. And I don't mean undermining and saying like totally not believing in it, but like not doing something and then staring at it like, oh, look at this masterpiece, look how dope it is. Now, boom, that's it, it's done. Let's move on to the next one. Boom. Like, and that's the kind of shit, the flow I try to keep when I work and shit.
Okay.
I try to fucking like just move on to the next piece and shit. I'm definitely more about volume and you know, output than I am about fucking sitting around looking at what the fuck I drew and shit. I got like fucking shit stored like crazy because it's just I'm moving on to like other things and shit. And eventually, hopefully, like this summer, I'm trying to get some sort of art show going because I have about like 10, 15 paintings I got to get to exhibit, and I just can't keep storing them. I want to try to sell them. So I'll have a show coming up soon somewhere.
Definitely let us know. We'll
Please,
put a little commercial
please.
on the pod.
Absolutely.
You know, let the people know. Carlos Arturo Arias.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Vuelvo y le digo, thank you for coming, bro.
Yes.
You are very humble with your artistry, even though you could brag. You could definitely brag.
If I start bragging, it wouldn't be me, man.
No, but that's what makes you. That's your persona. That's you as an artist.
Well, they say the realest people are the ones that don't gotta say they're real.
Boom. There you go.
Straight up. You know, the community that you cater to does that for you.
And for everybody that's out there listening, man, making sure you stay positive. Let your kids know that there's more to life out here, that you don't necessarily have to be a baseball player or a rapper, that there's other things that they could get into and make a living out here, man. We want to inspire all the creatives and let them know that maybe you can't make it a Jimmy Fallon, but hit up the DP. We got you. All right. That's all right.